We are the most connected generation that ever existed. Even now, kuna wengine wako kwa simu, but I know you're writing notes about what I'm talking about. You're not. We are most connected, right? And yet, WHO has declared loneliness of a rising health concern. Yeah? 21% of adults polled, this was a poll I think at the beginning of the year, says when asked if they're lonely, they put affirmative. We are lonely. By way of a feel of the room, I'd like to know how many entrepreneurs there are in the room. Okay, entrepreneurs, okay, good. How many are traders? You're trading? There's definitely a trader on this table. I spoke to you. Thank you. How many are in service? How many are not sure what to answer? There you go. There is a great documentary on YouTube that came out, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago by Al Jazeera, and I'm not going to try and remember it off by heart, but this might be the only takeaway that I'll give you, so write it down. The new form of capitalism, influencer culture. Who has watched it? Soulmates, man. You need to watch it, because we spent a lot of time today talking about the creator culture and also talking about the fact that a lot of the media that we're using to market is not designed for Africa. Really, really important to watch that, because even content creators are creating to the algorithm. It has been projected that the creator economy will be a $530 million economy by 2030. Who is making the money? Who do you think is making the money? Just shout. Exactly, it's the platforms making the money. So you can see as business owners where it's putting us, right? It's the platform, and just bear that in mind as I speak today, that it is the platform that you're using that is making the bulk of the money. Okay? Good? So what makes us intrinsically human, right? What are the things that make us different, especially in this age of AI? We're going to talk about that, and when I say talk, we will all be talking, right? We know that AI is good for business, right? Anybody who thinks that AI is bad for business, let's speak to you. Okay, if you're quiet, I want to hear, why do you think AI is good for business? You can shout, you can scream. Sorry? Efficiency? Automation? I see that the index number ones are in this table, so let me look at them. Efficiency? Automation? Data analysis. Quick analysis of data. The great equalizer, this AI, for small and medium size. But also the answers are also really here on the screen for you. You can read that, right? So it's definitely, we know for a fact that it enhances efficiency, it gives us insights, it's personalized. You can personalize the information you're getting for your organization, right? As a result of knowing that, can we then ask, what then will make us different? And why is it important to remain human? And anybody thinking of what makes us uniquely human as compared to AI?
Emotional connection.
Sorry? Emotional connection. Empathy. By the way, we're all humans in this room. Sorry, Authenticity. We'll talk about a bit about authenticity with our algorithms later. Yeah? Compassion. But she has a cheat sheet because she's seen the slides. What makes you human? Me, I want men to answer. What makes you human, men? Sorry? Yeah, because we seem to be talking about female emotions, yeah? So as a man, what makes you human? Sorry? Critical thinking. They just want to think and be left on their own. I want another male voice. Tell me, what makes us human? Food, exactly. You need to fill your stomach. One more. We need to balance this equation. I know I'm women-centric, but I like hearing male dissident voices. I really want you to answer. My friend in green. What intrinsically makes you human? And you can repeat something that has already been said. Sorry? Originality. That's a big one. And it's going to play a very important role in basically defining who we are. So in a nutshell, this is the cheat sheet that I decided. The things that make us human is the ability to create, connect, converse. And in the process of conversing, we have discussions, right? We have discourse. We want to disseminate information. Let me tell you something. I've even jumped one of my things, but I have to talk about it now. About the alter egos of Kenyans. I talk about this all the time. You see how guys in this room are quiet and so polite, Nini, what Nini? Go on X. Huh? What happens to Kenyans on X? Tell me, because you're Kenyans, tell me. I need to understand y'all. What is it? This is the place where men answer. What happens to a Kenyan when they go on X? What are they, and why are they ranting? What? And then they go to Grok and ask if what the guy who's ranting said is true. Have you noticed that trend? Is that a mixture of use of AI for discourse and dissemination of information? Perhaps, right? Yeah? So we have that. And since we're entrepreneurs in the room, and I had their makers in the room, and I'd really love to hear, especially around people who are creating. And if anybody has pitched, and I have some people from my community here who have had them pitch, and they're excellent. They always pitch. And they will say a phrase that I hear all the time. What need are you solving for? They say, we are solving for the greatest need. The greatest need. What do you think is the greatest need right now in the world? And I'm dying to see who's solving for that in this room. What are the greatest needs right now? We're living here, by the way, and I'll discuss why you guys are quiet in my next consecutive slides. But what is the greatest need right now in the world?
Connection.
Okay, I love it. You've jumped to like 5 slides. But before connection, and we're think about globally in the world. Huh?
Peace.
Sorry?
Peace.
Exactly. Conflict and war, solving for that. Another one? Climate. Right? Somebody else? Keep going. We want to go deeper. We're not going top level. We're going, what is equity really about? Sorry?
Giving people opportunities
So that they can?
be able to empower themselves, right?
And get out of? You get it, right, exactly. So we're thinking about climate, poverty. Under poverty, you'll find I'm solving for education so that I can give equal opportunity for guys to enjoy this world, that we've been given. So think around it like that. Now, in this room, who is solving for those great problems? Why are the hands being resistant? You need to put them way up. Shout and say what you're solving for. Index number 1. So what are you solving for? The greatest problem is? Poverty. Uko nyuma? Poverty. Anybody outside poverty? Food security.
All of them.
All the above. Love it. Don't want to be excluded. Okay. Traders. I'm going to bring it back home. Traders, who are you solving for? Sorry? You're solving for self. Any other trader in the room, I know what she sells, but I want somebody else who I don't know what they're saying. A trader. Trader ni mtu, you go and get your products from which X country? Say the X country. And then there's a lady who's on TikTok doing this a lot. And then you bring it into, and then you do what? You sell. So what are they solving for? Sorry? I don't know. I'm asking. It's not a question. It's a statement. I like what she said. She's in the business. So she says she's solving for? But ultimately, hopefully, in that process, you're creating jobs, right? And giving better pay, right? Okay. Sawa. So we brought us together. There's a report that came out from just very recently, MIT. I think it was in the beginning of the year, maybe February. And the report says 95% of the businesses and the enterprises polled said that the AI tools that they have implemented in their businesses are not working. They're not delivering. Anybody wants to counteract that data? This is your moment. Why are we quiet? Yeah? Use your mic, please. Feel free.
Yeah, strongly disagree. One, I think, especially when polls like that are taken, only people who complain tend to respond.
In fact, the other day, I realized when I used my Uber, I never rate. I really go through rating. But this Uber driver was so bad. I remembered the following day to go and look for the rating to make sure I put 1 in it. So, yeah, very emotive. The poll responses can be very emotive, yeah? So you are implementing AI tools in your business?
Yes.
And you're seeing them work, yeah?
We're learning. It's a tool at the end of the day, so we learn with time. But yes, we're seeing results.
Okay, you're seeing them learning. Anybody else?
I believe, like said, it's a tool you need to learn. So most of the people who say they don't work have not realized that it requires personalization and customization for you to understand your need and then give you solutions.
By the way, the only people answering questions from today at this table, right? I love you. 5% of the enterprises polled, right, were using AI tools as systems in their business. Do you see the difference? Right? By the way, Kenyans, we're ranking what in the use of ChatGPT? Said, help me, yeah? You guys have the data. We're what number? What are we using ChatGPT for? Sorry? Schoolwork. It's helping you do schoolwork. And yet we're one of the most it's so sad. You're using it for schoolwork. And one of the reasons why Kenyans are the most educated and intelligent people on the continent is because of the amount of work you have put in education. And you can see now what you're doing with your chats, right? So it is using the tool as part of your system. And because we're talking about scaling, right? Remember, we're solving the world's poverty, everybody has said. That's what you're solving. So you're solving the world's biggest problems. So you want to solve, as set told us, quite fast. You want to solve first, and then you want to iterate fast, right? Yeah? You have to have gone to good schools to be able to do that one. But so, right, exactly. So we're trying to, we want to move. We know that we need to move with speed. So we need to be using the tools that are in our that are available for us as AI as something that is already working in an existing system, right? And because we are humans, remember we are creating solutions. So these things AI doesn't have because you're the creator. You're the one who's putting in the content, yeah, in the learning models. Now, for you to be able to even have the mindset of starting a business, there has to be things that you have seen, felt, and believed that you can make that change, right? Many times for us who deal with only women, we understand the word agency very well. There was a whole thing that went around, I don't know if you saw it on LinkedIn, where they talked about how much assets that banks in Kenya are holding. Was it 1.7 or was it 7.3 million? Trillion in assets that banks are holding as collateral. What do you think? Who do you think is excluded from that data? Sorry? Why? Why do you think women, and we look like us guys are urban, why would you think a woman is excluded from that data? Let's question metrics. Yes, go ahead.
Traditionally, assets in our communities are held by the men in our families. Yeah. So our brothers, our fathers, our husbands. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to taking debt, if it's not in your name, you can't access that. You can't
access it, yeah? Right? And why would there then be a problem if banks are holding that level of collateral? You've been fed at least, so we can use our brain power. Why is there a problem? You're excluding 50% of a whole population if you don't change something that is systemic, which is access to funding. Right, so I'm here, I'm a female business owner, I have decided, yay, I'm going to get out of poverty, try to look for jobs and cannot get any jobs. So what am I going to do, Start a business. Sindio? All right, very good. I start selling or trading or doing whatever, or manufacturing, doing whatever I'm doing. Ultimately, when we scale, what are we going to need? Funding, yeah, at some point. At whatever point it is in your business, you will need to scale, right? So where are you going to go to? Yeah? You're not going to do Fuliza first. Are you sure? You're not going to do Fuliza. You're not going to do all these things that we're getting, Tacid, Chama, okay, because you're a woman, you'll start with your chama, yeah? All right? Hustle of, exactly. You will take all those things. And what is wrong with these products? And this no hate to the people who are creating them. What is wrong with them? They're extremely expensive. So there's no way our businesses are going to continue to be staggered in their growth, yeah? Because of these systemic issues. And I really need people to understand that. That's why I love that data. Anyway, in a nutshell, when you can't find jobs, the first thing you figure out is if I can do something for myself. And what we're going to see more of is the rise of solo entrepreneurs when it comes to the use of AI. Why? Why? Yeah?
It's more efficient, simplifies tasks.
Exactly, the first slide we were given. So yes, exactly. Suddenly I can start my own business, and where initially I needed a designer, I have Canva. Where I needed some form of CRM system, there are a dime a dozen in Kenya and beyond. They're all around you. So you'll still be extremely professional in your delivery, but you're working alone. Do you see, and can I set that premise, that with the rise of AI, we will have more solo entrepreneurs? So we're all moving forward. Anybody who disagrees before we move? We're all in agreement. In the industry that my business runs in, we are going to see right now, MICE industry, which is meeting, events, and incentives, that industry is a $1.7 trillion industry. Well, those people of TAM, what are those terms we always use? TAM, exactly. So that's the industry. In 2030, that industry is projected to be $2.4 trillion globally, right? That's the rise in it. Why do you think people are putting a premium in meetings? And after all, we have come from a pandemic where we can do things virtually. Why do you think there's such an exponential growth in meetings? Please, don't let me down my table. Why do you think? Huh? Human connection. The feeling, the touching, conversing, connecting. Put that in front and center as we go to the next slide. But guess what's happening? What's happening? We are the most connected generation that ever existed. Even now, kuna wengine wako kwa simu, but I know you're writing notes about what I'm talking about. You're not. We are most connected, right? And yet, WHO has declared loneliness of a rising health concern. Yeah, 21% of adults polled. This was a poll I think at the beginning of the year. Says when asked if they're lonely, they put affirmative. We are lonely. What is loneliness? Talking to yourself. And loneliness is not enjoying one's own company, please. No, we're not talking about. What is loneliness? Feeling, yeah. You're feeling isolated, and isolated from even family. When was the last time you called somebody and spoke on the phone? Was it a non-work call? Oh, good. So how many let's put our hands up for non-work calls, because I haven't had any of those. All right. So is that, can we say a third of the room? What? Yeah. But just think about it. What were phones invented for? Communication and speaking, and we're using it less and less. But how many people have had a non-work text this morning? All right. You see, and some of us even that's the first thing we do when we wake up. So 21% of the people polled. Is there anything surprising in this data? Look at the data on the 44, the younger than 44. Can you see the numbers? And look at 65. Okay, granted that there are fewer, but 10% are feeling less connected. My dad is 90. Believe me, he does not have WhatsApp. He wants to see you, he calls you, or he enters his car and comes to your house to have a conversation with you. That human connection is extremely real. Yeah? Anybody who wants to refute this data, this is discourse, we're being human. We're not just receiving things. Anybody? You can Google it. It's a report by Harvard. Get the numbers from there. That's where we break it down, we synthesize it, right? How many hours are Kenyans spending online on average?
I think it's at 8 hours now.
It's gone up because the data that I was seeing was around 4 hours, and we were still the highest on the continent. Now we're going to 8. What are we doing online? What are we doing online?
So, yeah. Also, I think the thing that skewed that number quite a bit is that messaging became an online function. So WhatsApp is online.
Okay.
Which by default is... Yeah, exactly. So that skewed the data quite a bit. But connecting with people is oddly very high. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think, after that is looking for information.
And looking for information. So we're doing that.
Then
and where
shenanigans.
Can you break it down? Let's distill it further. Can we break it down on what the connection looks like online?
What the connection looks like online?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying connecting with people online.
Yeah, messaging, social media.
So we're removing WhatsApp. So let's remove WhatsApp, right?
Removing WhatsApp, social media is extremely high. And when you look social, I think in terms of time spent, TikTok is like all the way up there in terms of time spent. Okay. I think YouTube follows. And then Facebook is very high for Kenya because it's free.
Ah, that's good. It comes on
so for rural markets, everybody who's not marketing on Facebook, please, G-evaluate.
If that's your audience.
Yes.
So, okay. Do you know why? Thank you for validating the next statement I'm going to say. Do you know why? You've seen this trend where somebody said, I can't remember who he was on TikTok, and he said, I'm going to speak to Kenyans. And then he started talking in Kiswahili about stop doing this on TikTok because they're moving our algorithms. As we speak bad about each other, we're vile. Did you see that TikTok? I can't remember who did it, but you remember that, yeah? And so what's happening on TikTok, I mean on X, I would say is almost the same. The more bile, because we're Kenyans, we can say bile, we're spewing out there, the more the algorithm is picking it up. Do you see? Yeah? And therefore, we then become very angry human beings on X. You get it, yeah? The leading causes of loneliness. 73% is tech. 66%? And I know you'll start telling me that this data does not reflect Kenya. How many are overworked and busy? Next. Are you shouting? See, shout. So the guys at the back who have refused to be human and move forward. And the last is a spiritual or religious connection, right? They're lacking. Please, I want anybody who wants to dispute this data, please. And then we'll go to the guys. These guys don't have leakage. The guys at the back have the data. Anybody wants to dispute it? Yes, no. We're spending more time on technology. I know the people in this room don't watch news. We have to remain cool, you know? But for those who watch news, I saw a story happening in somewhere, I can't remember, you'll tell me the name, where there were young gangs that stabbed a 15-year-old. Have you heard that story? Umoja. You've heard that story? Yeah? Let's take a guess as to why this is happening. Why do you think? Let's just take a guess. Anybody from Umoja in the room? Okay. You guys are just urbanites. Huh?
Probably the parents are so busy that they don't have time with the kids.
By the way, that is the reason. 101%. Overworked parents. Oh, in fact, the community came together to discuss the problem they're having with these young people being outside midnight, 11, as young as 2 and 3 years old, playing outside the house. Why do you think that's happening? So when we talk about solving the world's greatest problems, you can see how it's trickling down. You can see if we're not solving for decent pay or decent work, people then are exhausted and overworked. Procreation becomes entertainment, yeah, and therefore we bring to life people who we don't have time to raise. There's a whole spin to it, and it comes home eventually. So for a better society, let's agree, this loneliness, it ain't good, right? Now, then how do we solve knowing that these are the problems?
Don't have children.
That's one. And it is a solution, Bill Gates, but it's a solution. Create. Fantastic. You're not letting. That prize has to go to that table. Is it shareable? It has to go. You see that? You see, she needed that community for you to be operating at optimum level. Yes? And so why do we build? Why are we building for community then? What will community solve? So how do you do that? How you want community and you're outside lonely. Where are you going to find the community? So you'll start your community, right? How are you going to do it? Sorry? I love hearing men speaking because men pretend they're not lonely. But the data shows that men are chronically lonely. It's an epidemic in some counties. So you start looking for spaces where you can come together. Now, Kenyan, and I'm talking to men, a common activity is not going to go to said bar. Okay? Big problem in Kenya. The rise of alcoholism is because we're looking for social connections, which we then find in places that sell. Now, these are the real places that sell alcohol, not the ones that are cleaning the chums. Yeah? People are looking for that connection desperately and will take anything that they're given. Are you seeing opportunity? Because you're entrepreneurs. Right? We need more social support. We need a sense of belonging. We need to underscore how important and how sacred that community then becomes, right? Because it's solving something that is really a problem, right? And of course, as a result, we have a better and a richer and a healthier society. Do you hear some of us oldies talking about how life used to be before tech came and invaded everything? By the way, TV used to come on at 5. Wonderful. It was lovely. And then we used to run into because our parents used to come home 5:30, latest 6, folks are home. So you play. The minute you know it's time, unaingia kwa nyumba. And then when you know that you're not allowed to be watching TV, you put off the TV. But the parents always knew we were watching TV. How did they know, Maureen? How did they know? It was warm. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful life, simple as we used to say. But I'm sure our parents didn't think our lives were simple. Ultimately, now we're going to go into the crux of it, right? What's that logo? Who knows that logo? Yeah. So we're going to go deep into connection, deep into thinking, deep into collaboration. We've talked a little bit about it and the things that are ailing us, yeah? We have a phone, but we are not calling people. Why do you think we're not doing that? You're scrolling. And then you know what happens when we're scrolling? You'll see Marion on Insta. Today it's this new ride. And it's true. Yeah? Tomorrow is, by the way, maybe a month. Am I right? A new ride. What will you say? You who know, even you'll just do, I'm not going to do what? Call her. So you don't even know what that story is about, right? What business? I know that business that she's in. Do you get, yeah? So because we are so disingenuous also within ourselves, and there's nobody else, you'll only look for like-minded, disingenuous people to have that conversation with. You get, yeah? So what are we being triggered by when we think about the deepness, the value of our connection? What about thinking? Are we really using our brain, guys? This tool that we're saying is what's causing, is what will bring for us discourse, communication. Are we thinking? How much time do we spend thinking outside of our phones and social media? One of the things that we need to scale is we need to collaborate. Have you heard this saying that collaboration is the new competition? Or is this the first time you're hearing it? Do you disagree that collaboration is the new? Sorry? Collaboration is the new competition. Okay, let me think. I didn't think I was going to be asked to do that, but let me think on my feet. So, I'll talk in the context of small businesses because that's what we do at Kayana. We bring small businesses together. Imagine that you are working as small businesses, for a tender. And this is happening a lot, where you have to work on a tender, and maybe you have different skill sets. But combined, you have larger revenues and larger experience. You can then put those together in a collaborative manner and pitch competitively for work. Does that make sense? All right. Let's now talk about a case for community. I'll give you the example very quickly of what we do at Kayana. So Kayana is a community of female entrepreneurs. I don't use the word accelerator or incubator because I feel like those are words that have different meanings, but we bring women together. Those women come together, they share ideas, they learn about each other, they get to know their challenges and the opportunities as well, because we share a lot of opportunities, and we try to keep them engaged, generally. And the more time you spend together, because we're human, the more connections that we form, and we try to help these entrepreneurs to move together like that. And the community has grown exponentially. Do we use AI in building communities? Indeed, as a tool, but the system has to work, right? Yeah. And some of the tools we use are, Jeffrey, this is where you help me. I think a simple one is MailChimp, in terms of sharing newsletters. Now you can say newsletters is really old school. For the data guys at the back, what is the data on conversion? I know you used the example of DMs. Why is it, but we're here, well, we are all here in the morning, yeah? Why is it important to move your audience, and since many of you were talking about social media, to your DMs?
Generally, the rule of thumb is move it offline. Like move it to your email, move it to your phone, move it somewhere where you can talk to someone.
Exactly.
This for crisis and this is for sales as well. The sooner you can get there, the faster you can get to a solution.
And so you want to move your customers, your community that you're building. By the way, does anybody think that their customer is not their community? And one of the things that Seth said, which is really true, is you have to think of them, not you. It's really important when we're in business. Does anybody think that your community is not your customer? Your customers do not form part of your community?
I don't think all of our customers are our community.
Because maybe you're selling to a demographics that you're not in or whatever. Let me give you an example, right? Do you know a global company known as, well, global in the American sense, known as Target? Yes. Anybody can tell us what's been happening at Target lately? Oh, Sid, you're my guy.
Target has recently suffered fairly significant losses because of a boycott that happened. They overcommitted to a specific community of people who are Black, and said that they were going to, after what happened with George Floyd in like 2020, they said they were going to give, I think it was $2 billion to various foundations and companies that work in like pro-Black spaces. And then after Trump came in, they said they were very DEI, anti-whatever, and they backed out of that commitment. So basically all the melanated customers boycotted them, and they ended up losing about $12.5 billion in their market cap from that boycott. So it is a fantastic case study on the power of boycotting.
But yes, the power of your customers, right? So and what Target did, which is really quite sad, and it was a wonderful thing, is they even began to stock more Black-owned products within their store around the DEI whole, initiative. So when people boycotted, and this is the crazy thing, we can have a whole conversation around that, but this is the crazy thing around a community and why you have to nurture that community, is don't take it for granted, yeah? Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted as you build your community, is that your only work is to sell to that community. I know, because if I don't put a $, Kenya shilling number towards the work, because it's work to build communities, you guys will say, imagine kazi nyingi, I ain't gonna do it. But remember, we're talking in an AI world. We're humanists. I've given you the numbers in our industry, and I'm sure if you go to your individual industry, there's a case for humanness in it. But in our industry, we're talking about $2.4 trillion industry. We have to talk about the humanness of coming together. So community is a huge part. In fact, many of the events that we hold, when the dissemination of the information is being sent out, it's being sent out to communities within that sector, that people will spend good money to fly to locations and to come and share with their own, peers. So that in that context, right? So Target does this amazing thing and brings this whole amazing community. The spending power of Black America is massive, right? And which corporate wouldn't want to tap into that? And so they went in it, but they only thought about the business in that community and forgot about why the community was coming in the first place. So you must build communities. We are constantly creating through our events and interactions. We are constantly fostering connections, right? And as a result, we are engaging in conversations, ideas sharing, the things that make us human, which you feed into the algorithm of these things and then they build for you later. But you need that human connection to keep evolving and having the AI tools they're using to keep evolving. Lastly, we will talk about, and this is really the end of it, and if anybody is in another community that you'd like to share about that is doing great business, would you like to share, anybody? This was my plug for Kayana. Oh, I want to also tell you something that I thought was really interesting. One of our events that we host that is very popular is known as Candid Conversations, Circles for Women in Business. Now, the first thing we started when we did our work was Candid Conversations, Circles for Women in Business, of which we thought only women in business would attend. Yeah? And so this thing is about iterating really quickly. We quickly, as the numbers grew, our events, we would hold 4 to 5 events annually and have 100 plus 120 women attend. And we realized, let's do a poll and find out who's coming. And we realized 47% of the women who were attending the event were actually in employment. This was pre-COVID, right? And so we were like, okay, this is really great. We've created a community, which they love, right? But our work was to really build women entrepreneurs. And that's how we figured, how can we create something that can move the female entrepreneurs further down the funnel for us to really now to support in the way that we had envisioned. And so we still continue to hold Candid Conversation Circles for Women in Business. Now, data for people who are hosting events and we sell tickets. Let me shock you. The event is usually held on the last Tuesday of the month. On Friday, maybe 15 tickets have been purchased. On Saturday, maybe, if you're lucky, and this is with a lot of noise everywhere, maybe 20, maybe 25. Then on the Sunday, some numbers. Monday, we begin to see a little bit of because when we put that thing of closing, M-Pesa, watcha you put registration closed. Sometimes we're like, do we return the money or what? What is it? Tell us about your buying, your decision making. Since you're in the room, tell us, what is it? What do you mean FOMO?
It's closed now, that's when.
You want to... That one is a phenomenon for us. And can you imagine now as an entrepreneur, if you do not have a community that you can guarantee is going to come and with that kind of psychological purchasing power, we would only be catering, whether there's no event, we only cater for 20 people. But on Friday, we had 20. But we have to believe that 100 and 120 are coming into the room. Yeah? But the work you do in between those engagements, that's everything. Many times, we get people asking us to collaborate, send this to your community, send this to your women, send this. And we're like, nothing. There's no other interaction you want with these women other than to sell whatever it is that you're selling. Why would you think, and why would you be surprised when they're not buying? Build your own community for your product. We come in to collaborate, right? Remember, collaboration is the name of the game. Unfortunately, I have 2 examples of communities that don't really exist anymore. But when you think of a huge co-working community, who comes to mind? Sorry? Huh? Sorry, Nairobi Garage? Anybody else? NILAB. Huge, now we're talking global. My data is global. Yeah? Have you heard of WeWork, anybody? So you heard of the WeWork story? The ones who are nodding your head, you're going to tell us that story. Please, give the mic to anybody who nodded ferociously. Tell us about WeWork.
Vague details, but I remember they were at some point one of the fastest growing companies in the world in valuation and in size. They hit like billions in valuation, right? It was a co-working thing that was driven by basically like subletting space. I don't remember what the business model was, but eventually they kind of realized, I think it was like a scam of some sort. They lost a tremendous amount of money. Investors lost a lot of money. and
All right.
it shut down. That's the most I remember. But one thing I do remember though is, unlike a lot of co-working spaces, there wasn't like a unifying factor. It was just space. It felt like it. Like it felt like there wasn't an identifying criterion behind WeWork. You know, like Kofisi people are Kofisi people. Kayana people are
Let's
Kayana
use that.
people.
I like the way you said. Why are they Kofisi people?
They're always trying to sell you on what, like, just, Baraza Lab people are always like, you should come get a space. Like, are you getting
But
a
it's not
commission?
about a space. You want more than a space, right?
Yeah, they always
Exactly.
tell you it's the community and the people you connect with,
Correct.
and so on and so forth.
So us guys, we don't have a co-working space at Kayana. It's the community. But anyway, I want you to go back and just do some homework for fun. Do some research around why WeWork was started. What was the thinking around it? It was built out of what we call kibbutz, which are communities in Israel. Read around it. But the one I want to talk to you about is the wing. The wing, because it was female-centric, so I'm niching it even down further, right? So the wing was a women-centric co-working space, right? How I heard about the wing, remember, whenever I speak, just remember I am Luo, right? Okay. So in 2019, when we opened the doors of Kayana, we hosted Melinda Gates, right? And when Melinda Gates was in the room, I sat with her chief of staff outside, and she was just like, tell me about Kayana. What are you trying to do? Remember, she was one of my first members. By the way, to be hosted in Kayana, you must open membership. So Melinda Gates is a member of Kayana. Anyway, so she said, what are you trying to do? So when I told her what we were doing, at that time we were still in our nascent stages, she said, why don't you follow this community of women known as The Wing? That's how I heard about The Wing. So The Wing was founded by these lovely ladies. And really, it was really around a space that was women-centric, that was going to take care of women issues in a feminine space. And yes, that sounds really good. Wonderful. People bought into the idea. One of the wonderful things about that space is that they would have, in different cities, they would have really celebrated women come and speak to the women. So people like Hillary Clinton have been there as well speaking. So really, they really tapped into that really real community, and they really brought a lot of women together. And if you had a membership in one city, you could use that same membership in the other cities in which they were opening up. Really, really lovely. There's a YouTuber who has shared her experience on becoming a wing member, and it was not a sponsored event. But we've talked about, I don't want to delve into it, but we've talked about some of the downsides. So dedicated space, so this is what the membership was offering: dedicated space membership model, curated programming, shared values. Shared values is extremely important, and online platform. Now, because we've talked about algorithms, and because we know we want people to be so authentic when they're online, you begin to judge their online appearance with the personal values of the, especially founders. And what ended up happening is they started getting dissident within their employees, because they were preaching and selling one thing, but the employees within the organization felt that they were being discriminated against. And it became a huge thing, to the point where the community completely disintegrated. So like all things, and I really like even what said, there's pros and cons to everything. The point is, you have to become and be focused and dedicated on the mission and on the thing that you're selling. And authenticity will continue to sell, but it's even more so when you are in person and with people, because people will judge you. Yeah, that's the reality. And that's one of the things that makes Kenyans so passive-aggressive, is because we have perfected the art of destroying character assassination completely. But I tell you, there's value, I'm telling you, in building communities. There is. It's a really quick way in keeping your businesses vibrant and action. And people also value you putting an effort in things that don't necessarily immediately have monetary gain. And so in conclusion, I want to leave you with the word, don't forget the community, remember, and it's not about the business of community, right? It's about building the community. The ROI, let's be very clear, is in the matrix of the value that you're bringing into the community. So Robert Greene, our author of today, says, never be self-absorbed and make this about yourself. This is not about dancing on TikTok. That's Pat, not him. Yeah. Although your community may love seeing you do this, right? It's about understanding what is at the core of what keeps us human is keeping us there, connecting, creating, and conversing, right? And picking your unique area and amplifying it to build a niche community. Always keep your gaze directed outwards. Thank you very much.